we're going to be designing some slide components, which is a component of district theme. And I'm going to show you how to make some really, really engaging creatives that fill that section of the website out. Again, all a theme is basically a skeleton for a website. And the easiest place to find a really engaging image for a banner or a slideshow for district theme is to go on a stock photo website and look for something like home, and you can already see such heartwarming, touching images you can put on your store already. But just to show you how easy it can be, I'm actually going to use an image that AliExpress has provided, one of our product images. I'm going to use the one on the far left over here. It's pretty high definition and I think it's pretty engaging. So if you're balling on a budget, you don't really want to look for paid stock photos, one of the easiest things you can do is actually leverage some of the creative assets that AliExpress has already provided for you. So I'm going to copy this image. I'm gonna go over to Photoshop. There's that beautiful logo that we made together for Modern Habitat, and we just want to open a new sort of project or new file. Not open, go to new, and then bam, we're gonna make this 1500 by 600 pixels, and that's the ideal dimensions for a banner or slideshow element on district theme. So we copy and pasted it. I'm gonna readjust the sizing and move it to the far left. And my vision is with all this white space on the right, I'm gonna actually use text over here. I think you and I can both agree that if we just left the image like this and made text on the right hand side, that would be a little lazy. And it's kind of weird that this image is just cut off like that on the right hand side. So I'm going to fix this by going to edit, transform, and flip horizontal, and you can see it's fixed, right? The scarf is now on the left hand side, and now it makes a little bit more logical sense. So how do we actually fill out this white space so it isn't that awkward gaping white space? We're going to use the rectangular marquee tool right over here, and we're going to want to select right on the image just before it touches the plate, and you're going to want to zoom in for this one just to make sure. And there you go, it's not touching the plate, and we're just going to edit, content aware, scale, and it's one of my favorite tools. We just drag it over and bam, that looks great. Now there's that continuous color from left to right, and you can see how powerful Photoshop is. It looks like this image was originally exactly like this. Now I want to add some text to this image, you know, something that conveys just the emotional feel of this brand. So we're going to use this horizontal text tool, and I just thought of something. I'm gonna make sure it conveys simple and conveys the simplicity of going to home. So I'm gonna call it home simplified, and this could be like a bestsellers collection, a shop now, or a sale, whatever messaging you want to use. And I want to make sure this stands out, so I want to pick a color that's gonna look a little bit better on this gray background, and I'm just gonna pick the color black. And this is really simple, really clean, and I think it's a perfect fit for the branded feel that we're gonna look for, and it didn't take that long to make. This banner looks great already, but it seems a little empty without a call to action, which is basically something you're going to tell the visitors to do once they see this banner. And I'm going to accomplish this with the rectangular tool, and I'm essentially making a button. I've made it white for now. Let's adjust it perfectly, and I'm going to direct traffic to the best sellers. So keep in mind that on district theme, these slideshows or these banners can actually link to particular collections of products, and this one's going to link to a bestseller collection that's going to be an automated collection that's made based on the products that are selling best. In the beginning, I'm just going to pre-pick what the best sellers are. So now whenever they click onto this banner, they're going to go to the best sellers, and let's try to make this shape actually look more like a button. I'm going to accomplish this by adding something called a outer glow, and you just want to go to the bottom right after you click on the layer, the rectangular layer, and click on outer glow, and you get to pick the color here. There's a bunch of other settings that you can play with, and now you can see how this looks a lot more like a button that people can click on and go to the link to that collection. Another way to achieve this in a cooler way is using a drop shadow, which adds that 3D effect. With drop shadows, you can see there's a bunch of different settings that you can play with. So opacity basically determines how thin or thick or how strong the shadow is. You can also play with the angle, which is basically like where the light is hitting this button, and it gets very, very dynamic. You can see how this looks really elegant and professional so far, and there's even some other settings that you can adjust with drop shadows, and I talk about this all over. So this is kind of the distance of the drop shadow away from the actual shape, and you can also change the spread which kind of makes the shadow a little bit thicker or spread out or a little bit thinner. You can even change the size, which makes the shadow more or less scattered, and just fine tune this as much as you want until you really think it looks great. I think this button so far looks very, very clickable by the average visitor. So this banner looks super awesome. I think it's ready to drive some traffic and look really appealing on the store. So I'm just gonna save this to my computer, and I'm gonna call this Modern Habitat Banner 1, because remember, we need 3 banners for district theme. So I'm gonna be making 2 additional other ones, and I'm gonna keep this in the back stash. The next banner that we're gonna be making, I'm gonna use the iStock stock photo method now. And again, you don't need to have iStock. I think it's a great investment, but if you have really engaging product photos, sort of like we have with Modern Habitat right over here, then feel free to use some of these product photos and manipulate it with Photoshop like I just did for the first banner. But again, for this second method, I want to use iStock. It is still one of my favorite ways to make banners. And I'm just going to look up interior design, and you can just look up very logical things. iStock has a very powerful search algorithm. Something you'll notice is that this is vectors. You're going to want to switch it to images. Vectors are something completely different. And again, so many engaging images here that we can use for Modern Habitat. I'm just going to go with the second one because I think I spotted that exact lamp in this image somewhere in the catalog while I was sourcing for the store. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. And yep, there it is. So it's probably not the exact same lamp, but it's very, very similar. And this is something that actually works very, very effectively. The average consumer has no idea. They just assume like, oh, these guys invested a lot of money in making this really, really professional shoot with all these items. And even if your item isn't exactly the one shown in the picture, it's actually okay. I've had situations where I used a stock image and sold something completely different. You notice that picture had pillows, and maybe the pillows in our catalog are these pillows on the couch. Who knows, right? When you look at a big brand's ad, let's say you look at a Polo ad and some hot model is wearing a jacket, just because you don't find that specific jacket in the store, as long as the ad was engaging enough for you to go, you're still going to go to that store, right? It's the same logic over here, so don't overthink it. And it's actually very powerful psychology. So I'm downloading this picture and then, of course, opening it up onto Photoshop so we can start making some magic. This image looks great, but I want to make sure that it matches the dimensions of the previous banner, which is also the ideal dimensions for any banner on district theme. It's going to be 1500 by 600. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust that canvas size just like we did before. See how I unlocked that layer first, and 1500 by 600. Okay. And of course, we have to readjust this image and make sure that it fits onto this canvas just right. And I'm going to zoom in to make this a little bit easier for me. And at this point, I'm making some adjustments, but I notice some big flaws, right? The first big flaw, and this is something you're going to develop a creative eye. The first big flaw is that this first banner has image on left, writing on right, and button on right. We can't just flip the script. It'll look really, really weird in a slide sort of banner format. So I'm going to go ahead and go to edit, transform, flip horizontal, bam, just like before. So we have the consistency. And of course, we also have that transparent space, which we solved together before with some edit and content aware scale. So using the rectangular marquee tool, we're going to select the space right before any object. You don't want to manipulate any objects because it looks really weird. And then just using content aware scale, dragging it out. The next thing is I want to add some text on the right, just like we did with the other banner, provide some consistency. So we're going to use that horizontal text tool. And I'm just going to come up with something that kind of fits the general vibe and emotions we're trying to communicate with this brand. Remember, it's all about being at home. It's all about being simple. So I'm going to say clean, quiet. And again, I'm just freestyling here. Clean and quiet living, right? Very simple, very elegant. It looks like this is something a professional marketer, which you and I are both going to be professional marketers, came up with, right? And you don't have to overthink this, but again, I'm trying to communicate this psychological element about shopping on the site, something that no other dropshipper really takes time to do. And I'm going to steal the button from the previous button that we designed. So something I encourage you to do definitely is to save your Photoshop files so you can borrow elements that you've already created. I don't like doing more work than I have to. You don't like doing more work than you have to. It's about working smart and efficiently, not just working hard. And when you save your files, you can borrow elements, it gets better. So let me just adjust this. And I'm going to keep this as bestsellers, but you could change the text and make it something else. You know, you can make it homepage, latest collection, whatever you want it to link to. You and I are making some great progress. I'm going to make the third banner now for Modern Habitat, and I want to feature another array of products that we sell on the store, which is going to be kind of bath products, right? So let's try to make a banner that's going to be for this kind of bath catalog, you know, to really show consumers that there is a diverse array of products that are sold on here. And I'm just going to look up bathroom, not rocket science, and look at all these gorgeous images. You know, like, why pay for your own photo shoot when this is just out there done for you? This one looks like it's within the same vibe and color scheme that we've been using so far. So I'm going to go ahead and leverage this one, open it up in Photoshop right over here. And again, we want to maintain that same consistency between this banner and the other banners, right? So what I'm going to do is make sure that this canvas size matches the same canvas size as the previous banners, which is going to be 1500 by 600. So do you remember how to do this? We're going to unlock that layer and go to canvas size 1500 by 600. Don't forget to unlock that layer. That's something you do have to do. And now I'm going to resize things and make sure that it fits onto this new canvas. And again, these images are so crisp and clean, and we're really achieving this branded professional feel as if we hired for very, very expensive photography, just like the big brands. And you can see there's that transparent area right over here, and I'm going to fix that with the rectangular marquee tool right before we touch an object. And again, I'm going to go to image, edit. I keep making mistakes. Edit, content aware scale, and dragging it out. And you can hold shift as well to make this drag a little bit better. And that's really nice. This blurriness actually has a really nice feel to it, and it'll actually really emphasize the text I'm about to put on. I'm going to take this text from a previous banner that we've already created. Why do more work than you and I have to? So copy and paste, really simple. Do some adjustments. Now, when you plug all this stuff into District Theme, you're going to see how like the button and the text kind of line up. It's hard to visualize that in Photoshop, so it might take a few iterations to make it look perfect. You should be noticing something now with your creative eye. From the lens of a consumer even, it's that this text doesn't stand out that much. So I'm going to show you a trick on how you can make text stand out even when there isn't much contrast with the picture. And this is going to be a slightly more advanced, but still really easy. Just take the rectangular tool and make sure you select the white color and draw a big box. Nope, this is not the final product. I promise. We're going to move that layer down below the image layer, meaning the layer that had the original background image for this banner. We clicked on the layer mask in the bottom right, and we're going to use this thing called the gradient tool. And we're going to drag a line, and you can see what this does. It kind of blurs in the white, right? Because we have this white background, that white rectangle we just drew. I'm going to draw a bigger line, and bam, it looks like some holy, angelic, peaceful light. And you can see how mastering a few tools on Photoshop can go such a long way in creating what you visualize into a reality, right? And now all I have to do is just make some adjustments to this text and figure out messaging for this banner and what is something that's going to really fit this psychological profile of this store so far, which is about peace, quiet, comfort. I'm going to write comfort and peace, two things that anyone can get behind. You can see the messaging is all in line. It kind of fits this brand. And when you come onto this store, it doesn't seem like a dropshipping store, right? It seems so clean, so comfortable. The images are so high resolution. It looks like a major brand. So let's save this banner so we can load it up onto Shopify later. And I'm just calling this Modern Habitat banner number 3. And once we save this, I'm going to make sure that the second banner is also saved. And I am so excited to plug this in and see how beautiful, beautiful this website is going to look. And the last step, you guessed it, is we're just going to go into Shopify and district theme and actually plug this bad boy in. Go to the home page of Shopify. I'm in edit mode and I'm going to click on slideshow, click on the first slide, select image, and I'm about to upload these banners. And I just actually noticed I made a little mistake, and it's really good I made this mistake because it's a common one. I saved some files as PSD instead of PNG, which is the ideal file type for the optimal image quality for Shopify. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop and actually save things the right way. PSD files are project files, so you should still save PSD files so you can access your work again and borrow from those elements. But when you actually want to upload something and leverage a creative asset in marketing or in site design, you're going to want to make it a PNG file. So I'm going to make sure I have these PNG saved. So it's really good just to save things as both PSD and PNG once you want to save something, because again, PSDs are great for leveraging previous work. So let's upload this first banner again and let's see how this bad boy looks. I'm so excited, and wow, it is looking crisp. I'm not done yet. We're going to do some final things together. We're going to delete this heading so there's not that annoying text there. Delete that as well. That's a lazy way of putting text in. We know how to do Photoshop. You and I, we're on a next level. And now I just want to make sure that it's linking to the right area. And you want to make sure that it's not the button link. That's pretty misleading because we do have a button on our image. We want to actually go to the slide link, right? Meaning anytime they click anywhere on the image, it's going to take them to the right collection. And I've made a bestseller collection. This store has never run. This is just for a demonstration for you guys. So feel free to steal this niche and tell me how this one goes. But this is what we imagine could be the best sellers, right? This is my best guess, and this is what you're going to do in the beginning when you don't know what your best sellers are. And now I'm also going to plug in that second banner and see how this one is going to look. And I can't wait again. It's so cool when this stuff comes to life, I'm telling you. And wow, it's looking good again. But don't get too excited. We're not done yet. We got to do the other elements. We're going to delete this text so it doesn't look dirty. And this thing is linking to the bestsellers. Now, is it a good idea for all of your banners to link to bestsellers? Probably not. I only did this to show a really clean and simple example. It's up to you to decide, but I do recommend some variation. So maybe one banner links to bestsellers, maybe another banner links to the homepage, and then finally the third banner links to a particular collection like bath, or maybe it'll also link to, let's say, like a new collection you're trying to push. And again, these banners are the front-facing aspect of your website, something that builds trust, something visitors see right when they get there. I'm checking to see it on mobile, and I think everything looks great. And we could have got a little bit more complex. We could have made sure the text and the buttons align a little bit more, but even now it's still looking so professional and so crisp. And it took me less than 20 minutes to make the banners for this site. So once you get good at Photoshop, the world is your oyster. You can create anything. I'm gonna save my progress, and I can't wait for the next step.